Let's just move along here. Um, my co-founder, Tracy Evans, and I both experienced very difficult work situations at different times where we weren't appreciated, where we were actively abused, where lots of things happened. And when we had the idea to found Open Strategy Partners, along with figuring out that we wanted to help technology organizations with strategic communications and marketing, and exactly what the business would look like, we wanted to make a place where we would have wanted to work. And the really terrific news is it's almost 8 years later. We're still a company. There's 14 of us, and my team tells me they're really happy, and I have people who've worked with me for more than 5 years, so that feels great. So the idea here is that organizations and communities that thrive, they're happy and feel appreciated. They're more collaborative, more productive, happier, and more creative, right? And better culture should be, my definition of better culture is it's less toxic, more supportive, inclusive. It involves listening and learning. It's a human-first culture, and it's safe psychologically. Better communications are an essential part of this kind of thriving culture, and therefore I say that better communication contributes to better outcomes, better success, better deliverables, better software, better communications, whatever it is. I have this Slido QR code on a bunch of the slides in the middle, and I only have 28 slides to go, so I'm hoping that if there's stuff to talk about, we can have some time here in the theater, and I will be here most of today and most of tomorrow for sure, and I'm happy to talk with anyone here or later, virtually, whatever. Love to talk about this stuff because I really believe in it. Open Strategy Partners. We are, as I said, B2B content marketing agency for tech product and service companies. If you make something that's complex and you have maybe in the sales process, you have a hard time explaining what the value of it is, that's where we like to come in and help and connect fact-based positioning to maybe the budget holders, maybe the less technical people who would also benefit from those things that you build. And we have an open source background. I've been in open source via PHP and Drupal and Typo3 sorts of things since 2005. We like to be quite transparent about how we work. We share a lot of templates. We give a lot of workshops. It's a really, really happy place to be. We get to help my friends and peers, and which is you, do better at business and do better at, getting more downloads for their open source project, selling more of their SaaS product, whatever it is. And I love it that I can help. This is a taste of how we talk about ourselves, and I'm hoping by the end I'm going to say so many of these things that you'll believe me that we actually do this sort of thing inside the company. But we wanted to essentially, like I said, make a place where we would have wanted to work. It's very important as a team and with our clients that we listen really carefully and let each other speak and then think about it and react, mindfully. And I think all of this stuff that we're talking about today is like anything you can notice, and the more you're aware, the more you're mindful about doing any of the things that I'm going to talk about today should make a tiny improvement, and those improvements accrue over time, and you can end up with a really wonderful place to live and wonderful client relationships, right? So Tracy Evans is my business partner, and she's a genius. As you can tell, I'm the pretty one. I get to go on the road. She's the smart one. She is an MBA and has a bunch of business degrees and management experience and all that kind of things. I estimate, about 5,000 beers with developers and agency owners. And that's my expertise, as well as I came in with some ideas about communication, and I came out of developer marketing at a startup called Acquia at the time. We came together. Tracy provided structure and methodology and tools, and we've built a lot of our own now. And I came in with this idea that, hey, there's a bunch of people who need help communicating better with the world, and it's really, really lovely. Doesn't matter so much. Part of the reason I'm here is because I live in Cologne, and last year I submitted a talk and I said, hey, I don't know your community. I've never been to a Java event before, but I live around the corner, so, and I've given a few hundred of these, so I'd love to come. And it was great, and I'm really happy to be back here this time. And I'm really easy to find online in general. So, I'm really grateful for opportunities to grow, and this talk is a chance to share the vision that we've been working on and give you a chance to be part of it. At my company, this is paying off, where, as far as I can tell, we have a great place to work and people who really care about each other, right? As a leader, it's my responsibility to help you or my team grow, right? And if I'm talking nonsense at some point, tell me after. But if you can help me grow or learn or suggest new things to add to this, or, as I said, things that might not look so great, I'd like to learn from that. So you read the session description, but these are repeatable, actionable concepts that can make your company, community, or team a truly supportive, positive, and productive place. Some of these are a little more theoretical, some of them are a little more practical. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this talk, so feedback on what would make it more helpful for next time, I'd really, really love that. I'd love you to walk away with some tools and ideas to enhance the communication and cooperation in your teams. You're very welcome to have the slides after, you just have to let me know. My lived experience is that all of this work and investment in positive and construction interaction pays off in better results and happier clients because we're doing better work, and then we get more clients because they've told their friends, and then my team is happier and we all pay our rent, and it's a very happy combination that I'm really quite proud of. So when we workshopped our company with an executive coach 8 or 9 years ago, we said we have this motto or tagline that is communicate, connect, grow. So then for a while the earliest pitch was, we help you communicate better to connect you with the people who need to know about what you do and grow. And that's nice. It turns out that operationally, we end up a lot more thinking about empathy, clarity, and trust. And we call these our pillars or our principles. We apply empathy to come to clarity to build trust, right? And so we apply empathy and clarity in communication to connect you, right? And then when your reader, your audience, your potential client sees a credible picture of what you do, then you have the potential to win their trust and to grow with what you're doing. So empathy is really, really interesting to me. It is, hey, I recognize how you're feeling, and I'm happy with you, or I'm sad with you, or it lets me offer my help to someone, or this sort of classic I was about to say allgemein, but this classic picture of empathy. The other thing that there's some other things that I call operationalized empathy, because we create communications, we create blogs and marketing plans and all that kind of thing. Operational empathy is interviewing your subject matter experts. We talk with the lead developer at our client, we talk with the CEO, we talk with the founder, we talk with our friends and experts, so that we truly understand their actual situation and their actual technology. We understand their business goals, we put that together. So first of all, and then we quote you, our experts. We quote you, brackets, in the age of AI, all of a sudden it's amazing that we've already got this methodology where we're creating new opinionated content every time we work. It's super fun. The next thing about empathy is interviews, then quoting, and another piece of it is, if I'm writing a piece for you about a given technology, I'm going to use a technological frame and goals and outcomes and so on in your world. What I would like to do is also give you enough information about the value proposition of what you're doing so that you could go to someone and say, hey, I really want to try this thing. It costs this much money, but it will give you more efficiency, better ROI, it'll help my job, right? So we want to connect the technical to the business case. And when we write business stuff, by the same token, will you get more efficiency with your blue and do 10 times faster, whatever, because we've done our homework and talked with the technical people, we know that it's the facts, it's technical truth, and that's very important to us, and that's one of the things that I was very disappointed in other marketing. So I consider all of that kind of operational empathy as a communicator. Clarity, it's a little bit more complex, but essentially I would like you as my client to be completely transparent about what you can do and what you can't do. If somebody comes looking for your style of technology, I'd like them to be able to self-qualify or disqualify quickly. We don't need to waste people's time. There are plenty of other people who'd be interested, right? So let's be honest about what we can do and not do. And then also, say the right thing, be honest, all that kind of stuff. The other side of that, like more operational as a content team, is making clear pages and structures and using, semantic fields and all that kind of stuff. Now, I feel that if you communicate with empathy and clarity, that it builds trust, right? Trust requires consistency. Whatever it is you do, do it consistently. I also think you need to be respectful and open and honest, and I think when you create consistently empathic and clear communications, that builds trust. And when we have trust, right, then we can sell the thing, distribute the thing, win new audience, whatever it is. So this next set of slides is some like big concepts around empathy, clarity, and trust. They are all actionable, but they're not like do the thing kind of tips. And I've made a little like key at the top, which of the pillars I feel each of these slides relates to. And that's our happy Slido link. So treat every problem as a learning opportunity. We have fallen on our faces in every possible way, and we've released client content with the wrong pricing on it, and I mean like real bad stuff. I could have said, hey, dear client, it's your business, it's not my business, and you didn't double check it when you published it on your site. I'm sorry, but not my problem. We went and we said, oh man, that's terrible. How can we make sure that this never happens again? And we take responsibility, right? But, what can we do next time so that doesn't happen? What can we learn from it? How do we need to change our processes? And how can we support people and make sure that everyone who's following us succeeds? So, gratitude. Our team, these are in no particular order, by the way. We start all of our team meetings with gratitude statements, and we've been doing this for years, and it's this, first of all, out of the world of positive psychology that my business partner talked about me. If you tell someone thank you, no matter how down you're feeling, you automatically start to feel better, right? And so we express appreciation for, I'm so happy that I saw my dad on the weekend, or, our client came back to us and told us that we all did a fantastic job and I really appreciate you all as a team, or whatever it is. And we have every team meeting, we start with that. And it's turned into this window into our lives, because it's just as likely that my team member Christine in California will say, well, I'm grateful that I'm taking a week off next week because I'm going to the giant puppet festival in New Orleans, right? And then we can talk about that, right? And it's super interesting, and you know something more about her, and everyone can take it as business, personal, as much as they want, but saying thank you is awesome. And if you have Slack or Teams or whatever, We have a gratitude channel where we like paste in things that the clients have said, where we say thank you to each other for help. Just saying thank you makes an incredible difference. By the way, all of these things I collected from my team in the last couple of weeks. This is barely my content. I'm just here to present it to you. It seems that the kind of people that we attract, that stick around, that work well, are lifelong learners. They're curious, they're open, they're ready for new experiences, and they're ready to share what they've gotten. And we do demos for each other and tutorials and stuff, and people get to see the amazing colleagues that they work with, and that's it's super fun. It's super fun. We have always been remote first. There's a couple of us in Cologne, but we have people from California through North America, through Europe, and actually also in Australia. So proactive communication and clarity and giving full context and treating everyone equally in a meeting, whether they're in a room or whether they're on the call or whatever. All of those remote first things that do really well. We've also defined, I think it's a common thing, but we've got a definition of what happens in Slack, what happens in Asana, what happens in document comments, right? What happens in email, although we barely use email. So it's sort of like discussion happens in Slack, decisions and project progress should be in Asana, which is kind of a permanent project management record. And then, working on a given project, on the actual wordsmithing and whatever in content, we'll use a lot of the comments in Google Docs, and that works nicely. So yeah, setting the groundwork. Adding to what I said about later, there's a point about documentation. Defining what your channels are for in a remote team really helps. Support your newcomers. Write documentation about what you do. Have a documented onboarding procedure, and then give people explicit permission to spend time just getting to know the team, calling each other, talking, doing all of that. My superstar team member Felicity, who lives in Melbourne, when she started working for us more than 5 years ago, she took the opportunity to write the onboarding guide, and it was like volunteered, great effort, and ever since then, everyone else who's come on board reads that and is welcome to make suggestions. Super fun, really helps build great communication. If you ask someone a question, you really need to listen, and if you're not sure and you're not clear, you should ask more questions and listen harder. And so I come from this technology marketing background where I switched from engineering to marketing through the community channel, and I discovered that the marketers were all a bunch of smart geeks geeking out about completely different stuff than we were geeking out in engineering. And I was super disappointed because they were producing marketing and sales support materials that were not good, and they were making stuff up. And I told them, and eventually it made something of a difference. How many of you, I think especially developers, absolutely love being a developer, working on code, right? It's awesome. It's awesome. And if I ask you respectfully about what you do, you could tell me all day, right? Ask a developer what they're passionate about. So we've turned this into a technique with the client interviews and preparing content, but really ask more questions than things you say. I use a trick where I start repeating things in my own words to make sure that I feel, to get to clarity. But the listening part is, was there a question? No. Is really important. So McKinsey, mixed feelings about that organization, but let's leave that aside. Defining the skills citizens will need in the future of work. Future-proofing citizens' ability to work sounds kind of sinister, right? But it was this very interesting study where they talked with 18,000 people. They have this set of 56 foundational skills, and my team member, Omar, gave a development talk at a very large corporation. It was super, super cool. And he used part of this as the basis to prepare that talk. And this interpersonal quadrant, top right, is quite interesting, and it really relates to what I'm talking about today. And he said, hey man, take this thing that I did at large client, and this bit is for your talk. And there's a couple of things. So McKinsey, if they have to boil it down to 3 bullet points, they talk about, for future success, add value beyond what can be done by automated systems and intelligent machines, operate in a digital environment, continually adapt to new ways of working and new occupations. That's, relatively true. I've had multiple jobs that didn't exist when I was a kid and don't exist anymore, so we all kind of know that story. From this McKinsey piece, yes. So we're coming to the end of the empathy slides. They looked at, there's a personality type difference, like people who help themselves and people who help others. And there's this really interesting study. Simon Sinek talks about it, how the most successful Navy SEALs, like super, super tough guys who do super, super tough military stuff, right? The most successful of those and the highest performing teams of theirs were made up of people who helped each other by default, right? So I have a team that does that too, and we have channels for sharing knowledge and everything I said. So that's a really, really, really strong piece of applied empathy, is helping other people. And on a practical level, we share templates, we share methodologies, we prepare teams and then let them do their own work and give workshops, and we have almost no secret sauce. I feel like I can help more people than I can ever have as clients, and that's more exciting to me. The next one should be, so don't wake the T-Rex. If you come with someone and it's like, you never fill out your timesheets, right? And you never put in the right commit comments, and you always, and you never, that feels uncomfortable even to say it, wow. But that activates the reptilian part of our brains, and immediately we move towards a fight or flight response and get upset, and we're gonna be defensive, and it's not gonna be a good conversation, right? So don't wake the T-Rex, right? Don't wake the lizard brain. And we've come from a world of dealing with crisis and therapy, and there's a really interesting thing called nonviolent communication, which is a whole philosophy and framework developed by a guy called Marshall Rosenberg. Who's heard of NVC, nonviolent communication? Yeah, okay, super cool. We don't teach it or use it explicitly, but I feel that we're really careful in how we treat each other. And we have one way of working. Writing is really personal for a lot of people, and choosing the words and putting them into the right order, especially less experienced writers, not people who write thousands of words a week like me. And I've made the experience that when you're working with someone who's prepared a draft of something and they've really put their heart and soul into it, it's really hard for them to see you rip it apart and put it back together. And we had this, and this is applied empathy. We had this when we founded the company. I was the senior editor, Tracy was everything else, and she would write things. At that point, she's not a writer by nature, and she doesn't write very much. But, if she watched me editing, she's like, no, I wanted that, no, ah! And it was really difficult for her, even though at the end she said, hey, this article is better. Why is it better? So this one NVC trick is not saying you or you always or you never or you stuff, but it's to say, when I experience this thing, I feel like so, and if we recognize that, then maybe we could act differently, or I can make a request to you to, right? We have a set of 65-ish codes that define good functional writing in our context, in product communications, and using, and they're all documented, and they're I think they're published on our website, and we're writing a book about them right now. And I can go and use a commonly agreed definition to say, hey, we as a team, we've agreed not to use violent language. We don't use war metaphors. We don't use sports metaphors because it doesn't translate culturally. And you said this thing here. Well, no, here's one. Let's fix that together, right? Not you, but. And we create a space where we have an agreed set of rules, and we have this neutral thing to talk about that's not you did this, but it's like, oh, we've agreed on this. We've got, and we've got a bunch of them, and it works really, really well to help everybody learn together and share together, and it's super, super cool. So think about having a framework of whatever, we've agreed to this. I don't think that fits, let's have a look at it together is a way better way of saying it than, you never or you always. So let's see. Oh yes, and in some of my team contribution here, the same kind of goes in Asana comments. They seem to be really positive from my team, which is awesome. And when we're editing each other's work, we do one more thing with those codes. If we read through the first time, we call it a positivity pass, and we highlight anything we think is great, like a really colorful metaphor or a good choice of words, or like you put that argument together great. We mark it and we label it with a code with ++ in front of it. Thereby, we're giving praise and expressing gratitude, essentially. And as editors, we remember not to go and mess that thing up later when we're going back through it. So that's also a really, really nice technique. Like, highlight the good, celebrate what people do. As a leader, I have to try my absolute best to embody all of this all the time, because I think that if I don't behave like I have set the stage for, that it's not really going to work out in the end, right? So especially as a leader. And then for me, that goes a little bit further, because I have to have my teams back. I have to make the difficult calls to the clients. I have to apologize, whatever. I do that because that's what I would have needed when I was in their position in those times. Our clients are in Asana with us. Our clients are in their specific Slack channels with us. We work with them in partnership, and they can see what we're up to, and they can see the process we go through, and they can see often what we go through to deliver the work that they then hopefully and usually appreciate. A lot of my team has said, boy, that's scary when you go in there and you figure out that that's what OSP does. But in the end, because, people can just be their true selves, because they're psychologically safe, because we're consistent, and so on. That all works really well. And I think this is the best way to make a work partnership. And I'm sure that counts between teams and other kinds of relationships that you might encounter. As I've said, we come from the open source background, so sharing is kind of built into us, and we have explicit sessions when anyone on the team comes up with a good idea or a new tool or a new way of working or something that they're just proud of, like, because one of my team just published a book, one of my team runs an applied Go course, but somebody else developed a really interesting way to use an LLM to do some structured research. Somebody else, found a way to hack Asana to build Gantt charts out of it for himself to work with, and showed the whole team. So like, these learning sessions are incredibly powerful, and then everybody gets validation, everybody gets new information. It's awesome. Oh, and now we're over into trust. So generally, I believe that trust comes from consistency and doing things over and over again. And if I were doing content for you, I'd say we've got to show you that you're an expert, that you have depth, and so on, and we've got to show that and show that and show that, and do it in different channels and so on, to build up, and using empathy and being clear to build up the trust for them to then buy your thing, right? With my team, same thing. All the stuff I said, we have to do it. And if I make a mistake, I have to apologize for it, and I have to, like a proper apology. I see what I did, I see why it was wrong, and here's, how I'm never going to do that again. So we have to practice all of this, because when a client gets angry, when we lose a third of our revenue suddenly, when a client asks us to do a case study that is very, very disagreeable because of the nature of the organization, and some of our team doesn't want to touch it, right? Like, we have to have this trust and this conversation and all of this in place already. So you know, this is the same as writing contracts, right? Write the contracts in the good times because you're going to need them in the bad times. Set expectations, live up to them. I think I just said a version of that, so I will note to myself, I will edit this presentation better. Documentation. Document your processes. Make templates. Write an onboarding guide. Have HR procedures in place when there are more than 5 or 6 of you. And have someone who's not a company owner as an HR escalation point for real life issues, and make sure you're consistent and fair about that. We document our writing codes to give a fair, clear, equal footing working space to ourselves. And we document as much as possible our expectations as well. Write it down, have a handbook, show everyone where it is. It's a huge help. And it's not that it has to stay the same forever, right? It should grow and be a living document, but it's a huge help. Everyone says dumb ideas, me first, and me more than anyone else, I think. You can't tease people, you can't laugh at people, you can't pick on people. I know that should be obvious, but we have to engage with our teams with curiosity and support, and we have to engage with our clients exactly the same way, no matter what they're actually asking for, right? Because we all know clients. So we feel that if we have consistent empathy and clarity, that the team then has a psychologically safe space to operate in, and it seems to work. I think we have one unfair advantage over possibly many of you. We are specialized in communication. We are technical communicators. We think about communication. We come in as writers. We come in as having this communication brain on, and for me, offering this space to professional communicators, people who've worked in journalism for 15 years, have come in and they said, oh, I get it, I accept it, this is awesome, now I'm going to get to work. It's nice for us. I think this stuff will still work for everyone else, and I think it's worth it as well. So here's a super quick, numbering is now off, right? But what is it? What are the hard problems in IT? Naming, numbering, and off by one? Or the 2 problems in IT, what's that joke? Right? The 2 problems in IT, naming, numbering, off by one, errors? Yeah, so anyway, some number of ways, and these are really practical. These are super practical. Where it says positivity pass, highlight and celebrate good work. That's also gratitude. Say it out loud, write it down, tell someone they did an awesome job. It really, really helps. Tell them specifically what was awesome about it so that they can double down on that the next time, right? And then it'll help the conversation where they've done something that wasn't so great and need to work on that, because you'll show that you're genuinely engaging with them. Don't use war metaphors anymore. Don't talk about sex. Don't write about sports. Society is so international now, and communication is already so hard in writing. Keep it clear, keep it positive, keep it friendly. Don't write negative stuff about your competition. Celebrate the awesome things that you do. I think a comparison matrix is okay, but we absolutely refuse to do work where anyone's asked us to go write how crap the competition is. We don't do it. I think it's a terrible idea. Those are 2 of our editing codes, by the way. Observation without judgment, sharing feelings without accusations. I highly encourage you to look into nonviolent communication. It's fascinating, and it's a lot to digest, but it's really interesting. Right, improvisation school, say yes and. We try not to say but to each other, because when you say but, it kind of says everything that you just said is crap, and actually now you need to listen to me, and that's not a very constructive attitude, right? So we say yes and a lot. We try to be positive, we try to be constructive with each other. And I think that actually 7, A and B are all sub-bullet points of 6, actually. So think about it. We try to show what to move towards, not what to move away from. We want to argue for something, not against something. We want to argue to get to success, not to score points against each other, right? And I want to show my team what to do and how to do better, and not, what they did wrong. Be positive and be constructive. As much as possible, if you've recognized a problem, bring it to your boss, bring it to the team, bring it to your colleagues with at least an idea of how it might be resolved or fixed or improved. I know that's not always possible, but it super, super helps not to be the person bringing the problems all the time. I bet you know one of those. You know one of those. So, 9, take a nap. I am a big fan of naps, and we have a pro-nap culture at OSP, but what I'm actually saying here is we're a human-first company, and luckily in my line of work, nobody's going to live or die because of a blog post, and whether I deliver it on Monday or Tuesday or a week from Monday, it's going to be okay in my case. We meet our deadlines, we meet our promises, but I'm always there for my team, and my team comes first, and their families come first, and I don't care what client it is. If somebody has an emergency, they can drop tools and deal with it for themselves, and that's really, really important to us. And that includes, taking care of ourselves. So I consider these points very actionable and important. So I tried to start with gratitude, show you why I think positive communication is important, gave you some background, strategies and tips. Do you have any questions? I'm also really grateful that you came to my talk, because, as I said at the beginning, I understand that this is not necessarily the conference for something like this. So thank you so much for coming along. I don't know how many minutes we have. Oh, wow, we've got 6 minutes, which is super cool. And like I said, I will be here for the next couple of days. So if you have that special question that you're too shy to ask in front of people, we can also do that. Oh, I can't read those without my glasses.
Oh, okay. I can...
Oh, wait. Here, sorry, I apologize.
Perfect, there you go. Keep the phone.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool, where are you getting the next one? Okay, how can you share gratitude without sliding too much into a yoga mantra-like style? Many colleagues like these kind of contributions instead of embracing them. Yes. And I don't think you should force anything on anyone. In my team, right, there's no mystical, spiritual anything about this. Like, it's literally like, dude, I'm so grateful that I could go to the beer garden last night because we finally had good weather. Like, that's gratitude, that's cool. I don't think that there's anything weird about that, right? And it can go from there to, like I said, super practical things like I'm so grateful that Omar helped me with the SEO on that article because, look, we've got it in the first page of Google. Like, I find it super practical. I think it felt awkward when we started, and we had one team member at the time who was cynical about it, and that makes it harder. It really makes it harder. But just try. And lead by example. Say funny stuff, right? Make it a little bit of a joke. Have fun with it. It's okay. Sorry.
I have to keep, sorry. 4711.
Oh,
Okay.
a laugh.
Okay.
How to share gratitude without sliding... Oh, no, sorry, okay. Right. How do you deal with employees who come from different cultures and do not fit into the company narrative? I'm going to expand that question also with clients. If we can't be partners with a client and be on relatively equal footing and have direct contact with the decision makers, we can't build the trust, and it doesn't work out. And we've had this experience several times. By the same token, some of the input into this talk that I didn't, read verbatim, a couple of my people came from the corporate world and were like really surprised at how we work together, and it took them a bit to get used to it. I feel that so founding a thing and leading a thing, I've really had to grow up in a lot of ways, and one of the most grown up things is having difficult conversations with people. And I've had to fire people, and I've had to let people, go or put them on a break because we lost a client and we ran out of money. Same goes for someone who doesn't play along and doesn't really fit in within our test period, which is generally 3 months of work. It's very intense, it's very team focused the way we do it, and if they don't fit in, then I thank them genuinely for what they did, and they go. So I think we have a loving, caring culture, and if somebody doesn't want that, now I also have to say that has not happened very often. No truth? No. Please. Right. So he said that he's at a company where they've absorbed a lot of people from very different company cultures, and there's a bunch of them who are stubborn and grumpy and wouldn't be happy with this sort of thing, and was asking or suggesting about maybe putting them together or finding different ways to.
No, I'm asking about how to make incorporating them
Yeah.
more productive. So, like the percentage of the ones that are dismissed
Right.
in the company would be less, and more of them would be.
Okay, so how to incorporate more of them, how to get them on board. The way that we work together. So this is content, but if you do pair programming or passing things off within teams, I think it's quite similar. We work together, somebody drafts something, somebody else edits it, and it's not that they were in the same room together necessarily, but that's a sharing and a learning process between peers, right? And anyone who's in the editing role, has at least been there a bit longer, and especially when somebody does their first projects, right? We always give them someone experienced, and they're living this, right? They're not saying that was wrong and I've corrected it. They're saying you wrote this and then I found this other way to say it. What do you think? And then the writer has the full right to say, well, I wrote that because of this, and therefore I think we should probably keep it, right? Even if you don't make that change, 2 people have thought about it 3 times, and then, okay, right? Or they might say, yeah, that's great. Or they might say, hey, I've got an even better idea now that I've been inspired by this conversation. So we really try and live this thing and hope that people come along, right? So I think there must be situations like that where you put people together with someone who's, not yoga, mantra, religion, any of that stuff, but like who you feel might be a representative of your culture. I'm guessing a little bit because it's a problem I've had less than you. I'm sorry. Oh, how do you have a collaborative team if your team contains people from different time zones? Yes, I have California, U.S. Mountain, U.S. Central, nobody in U.S. East right now, European Central, Melbourne, and St. Petersburg, right? So we can never have the whole team easily in one meeting. We have 2 to 4 all team meetings a year because it's expensive and really difficult on somebody, right? Slack is made for asynchronous. Use asynchronous for discussions, right? Have cultural channels where, like, have a coffee break channel that's for jokes and like interesting stuff that's off topic. Have one about your different subject matters. Our team members who can't be in the all hands meetings record short updates so that we experience them in the all hands meeting, the regular ones, and we record that meeting, and they're paid to watch it and catch up. So we try and that's half an hour that I'm paying for, but or 45 minutes. But then I feel like that's worth it. So take absolute advantage of the fact that video calls and recordings and asynchronous is close to free nowadays. How do you prioritize understanding classes in? Oh wait, is this? I don't think this. This must not be about. Whoever wrote about apps, classes in their app, I'm not going to answer that. How to fix trust if it never builds up despite your best efforts? I tell you that when it doesn't come together, because of a personality clash, because of a culture clash, because of a client that doesn't give us the context to do our best work, right? Either they're too controlling, or they don't respect, or somebody else spent the budget and they've been forced to manage it. Like, all these things happen, right? The best way is to let go as elegantly as possible. Nowadays, I would say, try to fix it, try to make it right. Talking in person, especially if you can be in the same place, is great, right? The highest bandwidth communication. But if it doesn't work, you've just got to genuinely say thank you and pull apart as elegantly as you can. But if you've seen good in that person, if they've done well, you should also acknowledge that and leave the thing as positively as possible. But recognizing when it can't be done, that's part of what I was saying with I feel like I had to grow up, and I don't like it. Okay. How to balance, I guess this is the last one, how to balance creating a psychological safety for when everybody's supportive atmosphere, dealing with people that do not bring the requested outcome to avoid frustration. So people who don't play along culturally, we'll generally sort them out, and so far in the test period, and it doesn't happen very often. People who don't deliver their work, it always happens, it's hard. I have a lot of people on flexible hours, and if somebody's just distracted or not keeping their promises or whatever, I've got a great project management team who's in there pretty quickly and saying, hey, are you okay? Right? Are you okay? What's going on? Can we help you? Do you need us to take some deadlines away? And if they're willing to open up and they've got a situation, we can be as, we can give work to somebody else, we can give you a month off, we can, whatever it is. But we try to ask about the person first. And then, if they're consistently just underperforming and not doing what they say they're going to do, of course, in the end, I'm just going to have to say, it was cool, but I want to believe that we go in with this seeing the person approach first. I think that was everything from the app. Thank you so much for the great questions. It's all the hard stuff. Yeah, it's people, right? People are really difficult. Okay. Thanks, everybody.